In the last one, you saw me bring back to life my beautiful BMW 340i. And what an amazing car that is. That is all back on the road and driving amazing. So that just meant one thing, we needed a new build. This time I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to get something with a bit more damage than we're used to. Probably the hardest hit car that we've had in the past is the Golf R. So I present to you my new 2019 Honda Civic Type R GT. And believe me, it's been hit pretty hard. Let's run through the damage. Come over to the passenger side, the wheel, to be honest, doesn't look like it's been hit, but this wing is absolutely destroyed. It should be sat up here. You can see it's dropped down maybe 3 inches and it's just mangled. Unbelievable. Look at the shape of that wing. But luckily the door hasn't been hit and the side skirt looks to be okay as well. So we definitely need a wing. Bonnet doesn't look bad. We've got a couple of scuffs, but that will be savable for sure. Rad pack destroyed, slam panel destroyed, reinforcement bar destroyed, and who knows where all these electrical wires go. Coming into the interior, we've got a common sight. So we've got every airbag deployed, except in fact the curtain airbags. So that's going to save us a bit of work. Steering airbag, dashboard, and all the seat belts have been locked out. So we need a full airbag kit. And guys, I had to make a tough decision. So in order to buy this car, I actually ended up selling my C63 AMG. It was a tough decision. The choices were either I keep hold of it and try and make content around it, or I just get rid of it and move forward and try and progress with a brand new build. So that car actually ended up with a viewer of the channel who reached out and just threw me an offer I couldn't deny. So that car is now off to the south of France. If you missed the C63 build, go back in the channel and check that out. That was my ultimate car. It was my favorite car I've ever owned, and it went with a heavy heart. So that car is now going to be used as a holiday car in the south of France, and we are left with this Honda Civic. Nice. And how about this for styling? Just look at the sharp edges everywhere. We've got this huge rear spoiler. We've got 3 exhaust pipes, we've got a carbon fiber diffuser. This car is absolutely mega. It's not something I'm used to. I've never owned a Honda before, but what a car. It looks like an early 2000s Need for Speed underground car. The styling of it, these exaggerated wheel arches front and rear, the side skirts, the mega spoiler on the back. I've never been a Honda Civic Type R VTEC kind of guy, but what an introduction. Wow. Hood scoop on the front, the white paint with the black and the red just contrasts so amazing. With the interior being black and red, we've got the pinstripe on the wheels, even the pinstripe on this carbon splitter. It all just fits in so nice. I'm dying to get into the damage, so let's try, get it started, and then we can get on with repairing it. So I can see straight away we've got no power. We're gonna need a booster. The engine bay looks nice and clean. I should mention the car's only got, I think, 35,000 miles. So a fairly low mileage example. Nothing concerning up here. It looks like the car hasn't been touched up top, so all these plastics are all good. Let's get this booster on and see what happens. And we are boosting. Oh, so we have lights now. So it's telling me foot on the brake and clutch. And, oh. That sounds awful. What the hell is that? That's definitely not a noise you want to hear when you've just bought a car sight unseen from a salvage auction. That sounds absolutely terrible. Let's make sure we've got oil. So yeah, oil is on maximum, so we definitely have oil. Now, because the rad pack's destroyed, I wouldn't expect any coolant, but that shouldn't stop us from starting the car. Right, I can't even get the cap off, but I can see there's no coolant. But what is that noise? No matter what we did, we could not get this car running. It would crank, start briefly, and sound absolutely horrible, and just immediately cut out. Keep revving. At this point, I'm thinking all sorts of things. This car must have been running when it was involved in the accident. So, did the radiator get damaged and the car was left running and overheated? Has the head gasket gone because of that? Or is it something super simple? That sounds absolutely terrible. But it is starting. It starts and then it cuts out straight away. Could it be because the front has taken such an impact, the intercooler has burst? Let's have a look. Oh, the lights look nice. Yeah, the intercooler's got a huge hole in it. So maybe because the intercooler's all messed up, the air ratio's all messed up, so it's not running. Could it be that? Let's try it one more time. So it is running, it does start, but yeah, it's almost like there's no throttle control. Okay, so let's start with getting the rad pack taken off. So to do that, we need to take the bumper off, all these plastics, and then hopefully we'll get a good sight of what's going on behind. I'm worried now. That sounded awful. But I do know if you take an intercooler off a car, it's obviously not going to run right. So yeah, let's start with getting this front end apart and try and change the intercooler. And that is probably the quickest time we've had to take a bumper off. Look at that. Nothing left of it. But we get a good view of what's going on now. So yeah, like I said, the crash bar is destroyed. And look at where the radiators are. Wow. That is absolutely mangled. So I think to get the rads out, we'll take this crash bar off, and then we should be able to get to the radiators. On the bright side, looks to be okay. It feels solid. I can't see anywhere that it's been hit, so that's going to save us some money. These headlights are LED headlights, but down here is supposed to be the active cruise control radar. You can see the wires untouched, the bracket looks untouched, but the radar's missing. So maybe it fell off, maybe it got stolen, who knows. But let's tear down this crash bar, then we'll get a good view of the intercooler. And I'm wearing a coat because it's absolutely freezing now. The last week or so, the temperature has just plummeted and it's getting really cold. That's another reason these videos are taking so long to record. Every other day it's raining, or yeah, rain is our biggest problem. Because we're working outside, rain really is our biggest challenge. So if anyone out there has a workshop or a garage that's available to buy or rent, give me a shout and I'm sure we can reach a deal. So that is all the plastics off. Let's take the two headlights out and then we should see the 4 bolts for the reinforcement bar. What is this? I don't know. That's one headlight out. Bloody hell, they are tight. So the space there is really tight. But we managed to get that one out. And you can see here where the crash bar actually bolts to. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts holding this crash bar each side. So let's get that headlight off and then we can get this crash bar off. And that is our second headlight out. You can see here the top bracket is broken off and the passenger one. So I wonder if we can plastic weld that, because they are expensive headlights. I'll see how it goes. That's not going to go on for a while yet. We've got a lot to get through. So for now, we'll park that here. And just like I was talking about the weather, right now it's sunny, but it's raining as well. So very strange weather, but let's keep it going. With those bolts undone, that crash bar can slip straight off. Now, having a closer look at that smashed reinforcement bar, we can see exactly why the airbags in the car deployed when this car was involved in an accident. These 3 sensors are known as impact sensors, and as far as I'm aware, they work off seeing a change in atmospheric pressure when the car is involved in an accident. That just means these 3 sensors have seen an impact and told the airbags to deploy and keep everyone in the car safe. Pretty cool to see. With all that removed, we get a good view of the radiator pack and the intercooler, and wow, just look how far back it's all pushed. Just give it a quick pull, you can see it's back maybe half a foot. So I think before we go any further, I'm just going to get this intercooler removed, swap it out for a used intercooler that I've sourced locally, and just see if the car runs. I'm not going to bother changing the radiators just yet because I want that peace of mind of, does this car actually run? So let's get the intercooler removed, replace it for a used one, and try that first start again. And if it still doesn't run right, is this project even worth going any further? If that engine's hurt, who knows how much we'll end up spending before it does run right. Nice and easy, we've got our intercooler off now. Let me go grab a new used one. Okay, so new intercooler on. Let's try and get our booster pack back on and see if it runs any better. Oh, nice. Beautiful, the engine sounds so nice. Now we have no coolant, so this is going to have to be short and sweet. Amazing, I'm so relieved. It's even holding a charge without the booster connected. Yes, come on. Let's give it a rev. Sport mode? That sounds whack. That sounds whack. I was super nervous. I don't know why I keep doing it to myself, buying these non-runners, but they just somehow manage to pay off every single time. The Audi RS3 was a pyro fuse. The 340i was a pyro fuse. I did research into these cars before I bid, and I found out that there was no pyro fuse. So I knew, even though the airbags had all deployed, that wasn't the reason it was marked as a non-runner. So I was super nervous for this one, but it's paying off. That engine sounds amazing. We've got 39,000 miles. So yeah, every single warning light on, so I'm happy. Does it hold charge? No. The battery's dead again, so we might need a new battery. but that's little things. Let's go ahead, take this complete rad pack off, get all of this rad pack disconnected. And if you come over this side, so this over here is the radiator support bracket or slam panel. So you can see it comes all the way across the top and down the sides. And you see right down here, this is where the intercooler should be sitting. So you can see it's destroyed there. We've got a little chunk missing. Is that worth changing the whole panel for that? Bear in mind, these slam panels are about 500 from the dealers, from Honda themselves. And we'll get on to used parts for this car because we uncovered something ridiculous when it comes to Honda Civic Type R parts. But let's get the rad pack off and then we can decide if we need a new slam panel. With the rain pouring down, this is where we end off day one. It's day two and the sun is shining. So continuing off from yesterday, we can get the AC condenser lines removed. We need to remove that intercooler that we installed yesterday. That's already off anyway. Yeah. With a few brackets removed, a couple of electrical plugs going to the cooling fans and the top and lower hose going to the radiators, we now have a radiatorless Honda Civic Type R. That just leaves our damaged slam panel. So this hopefully is the last piece of damage on the front end of this car, and I'm hoping it takes all those damaged brackets with it. So just undoing the two outer bolts and a couple of bolts going through the frame of the car to get this whole slam panel removed in one piece. Now, everything is torn off the front of this Honda Civic, and this wiring is an absolute nightmare. I have no idea how any of that goes back together, but we'll worry about that shortly. When I won this car for £11,000, the winning bid on this car was £11,000. At the time, I thought I hit the bargain of the century, but man, was I wrong. I'm used to buying parts, so the Golf R, the RS3, the parts came in super cheap on any sort of used parts. Even the dealer parts were not too bad. Now, I've done some research since buying this car, and man, the parts are damn expensive. So what I've done is mapped out a good old route around the country, and we are going to jump in a car and go start picking up some parts. Now you'd think buying all used would be better off than buying all new, but I found an interesting mix. There is so many places you can go looking for used car parts. There's eBay, there's Facebook Marketplace. You can even reach out to the breakers directly. Some of them have some great websites. I already checked all the breakers sites and there was no Honda Civic FK8 parts, and Facebook is just a wild, wild west. So I thought I'd stick with eBay. First parts that we know that we need is the front reinforcement bar. And immediately I'm pretty surprised that there's only 2 reinforcement bars listed on eBay for this car. So the cheapest reinforcement bar is £444 plus £30 delivery. Even though the cost is ridiculous, we just cannot wait for deliveries coming in from Lithuania. So let's move on to the slam panel. And although there's very few listings for a complete slam panel, do find this one which is partly complete and again from Lithuania. It's at £600. That is absolutely ridiculous. We would be spending around £1,000 for a slam panel and reinforcement bar. I decided to look up the price of a front bumper and I almost had a heart attack. This is a Honda Civic. That is crazy to think you could spend £2,000 for 3 parts on this car. Not to mention we need an airbag kit. We need so many little plastics that are broken. Have I just made a terrible mistake buying this car? I gave Honda a call and I found buying a reinforcement bar and a slam panel from Honda would save me £314. If anyone can explain why buying brand new parts is actually cheaper than buying used parts, let me know. So that just means never trust what you first see. Although you might think recycled parts are cheaper always, it's not always the case. We're now on our way to Honda to get the parts that we find cheaper at Honda, and then we can start hitting all the breakers yards that have the individual pieces. Now of course, when it comes to a Honda Civic Type R, it's not the most common car on the road. So there's not a vast amount of breakers like you get with Golfs and Audis and Mercedes even. But in the previous videos, like the C63 series, I really glanced over this whole parts section. But I thought I'd include it here just to show the struggle of how hard it is to get parts sometimes. So we've been driving for 3 hours straight and we've just come back off the motorway. Let's pull into base and see what we've bought. Right, so a long 3 hours later and we have got some goods. Not everything we need, but a lot of what we need. And we have a lot of the bumper trims, so the passenger fog light surround. Now would you believe this surround from Honda was £30. However, this little pop out, so the thing that covers the radar, this was £180 plus VAT. So we went ahead and got a used one for £40. Then we have the big things. So this radiator support or slam panel. Initially I thought we could save the one that I've got, but it wasn't just a crack down the bottom. This whole bottom piece was missing. So worked out cheaper from Honda directly, brand new. Luckily they had it in stock because somebody had ordered it a while ago but never collected, so we got lucky there. And then we have our crash bar, again brand new from Honda. Somebody ordered the slam panel and the reinforcement bar and never collected, so worked in our favor. They had it in stock. And then the last of the big things, you saw earlier we had an intercooler but we didn't have the AC condenser and the radiator itself, so gone ahead and got a used one of those. And amongst a lot of little things, the last thing we need to get this car running again is coolant, so we've got a bottle of coolant. That just means we have enough parts now to crack on. We've still got a few parts, little pieces ordered from Honda and on delivery from eBay, so we'll wait for them to come in, but this is more than enough to get that car driving again, at least moving around. So let's crack on with the slam panel to begin with. Okay, now obviously our new slam panel has come bare, so this is why I keep all my old parts, whether they're destroyed or not. So things like these little brackets that hold the radiator in place, the horns, all these little brackets. It's a good job we held on to it, because if I had thrown these away, we'd have to go out and buy those brackets as well. Since our cruise control radar was missing, I went ahead and picked up a used one with the bracket just in case ours was bent. Right, so we're making great progress. The slam panel is provisionally in, so I've put a couple of bolts in either side. Now when it comes to this bonnet catch, I've connected it to the lock itself, but I have no idea where all these clip into. So either I'm just gonna have to wait till the end and I'm sure it'll be obvious where this clips into, but for now we'll keep it moving. So this wiring harness I'll just leave to the side because I know these yellow plugs go to the impact sensors on the crash bar, and same for the ambient temperature sensor. I know that goes onto the crash bar, so we'll leave them to one side. And for now I think we're ready for the rad pack. Okay. Now what I don't understand is how did I connect this hose, or how did I disconnect it but at the same time get the clip over? How did I do that? There we go. Now the hose is on. How do I get the clip on? The clip is all the way up there. Okay, so my theory is I hold the clip open and push the radiator into the hose. Let's see if this works. One sharp push. Oh. Try and push from the back and the front. Hey, look at that! Like a glove. Woo! We have a rad pack. Let's hope it doesn't leak, because I never want to take this radiator off again. Let's get the last few plugs plugged in. Hopefully we'll get no leaks when the AC gas is refilled, because I'm hoping those two are okay. I don't know if they need any silicone or glue or anything. I've just bolted them in. For now I think we're good to put some coolant in and just bolt up the intercooler, and we'll see how it goes. This little bracket was slightly bent. Ow. All it does is holds the intercooler in place, and it was bent slightly upwards, so I'm just hammering it down just to give a nice snug fit when it hooks over onto the intercooler. Okay, we should be good for some coolant, and we can hopefully run it now. It is purely just very sketchily put together right now. I just want to make sure there's no leaks, and then we can go ahead and knock it all out. Because the last thing I want is a leak at this point, and then we have to undo everything we've already done. So I think some coolant, and we'll give it its first proper run. Is anything leaking, cameraman? Okay, so the expansion bottle is now full. So obviously we have air. So what I'm going to do is run the car, let that air circulate out, top up the coolant, and we should be good. Let's go. Okay, we're started. Let's check for any leaks. Whoa! Look at the side marker. We're gonna look American around here. Why is that constantly on? Isn't that an indicator? I don't know. Man, so we have a leak. Can you see there at the bottom? Now that pipe's right at the bottom. So I think intercooler off, radiator off, and check why that pipe's leaking. I've just put 5 litres of coolant in. That's £25. Man! Okay guys, check this out. We have just wasted £25 worth of coolant. Check out what's going on. So this is the bottom hose going into the radiator, and check this out for a leak. Can we see that? So the pipe is split. Incredible. I can only blame myself for this. I really should have filled the system up with straight water first, or distilled water, made sure there was no leaks, and then gone ahead and replaced the water with coolant. However, we'll find out in a little bit. It's probably a good thing that this happened at this point. Right, so new day, and I've gone out to Honda and got a replacement lower radiator hose. So it looks like we have a tiny pinhole in this pipe. I don't know if this was due to me pushing my screwdriver in. I've looked back at the footage and I don't think I did, so maybe this rust has just eaten through the rubber hose. I don't know, but fairly inexpensive, £11 from Honda, and it's just held in with these two Jubilee clips. So let's get this top one off and replace it for this one. And that's the old one off. So we'll reuse these clips and we'll try this whole process again. Right, and another huge mistake we made. If you remember, a couple of days ago we filled this system up with coolant, and I used the coolant that the local parts store recommended. You could see by it draining out, it was the pinkish kind of color one, pink or red. Now, the second time I went to the parts store, they actually gave me a blue one. And after doing a bit more research, this car does in fact take a blue coolant. Apparently, if you mix the two, you can get a sludge. So what I want to do is fully drain the system, which it is, run some water through it first, get that all cleaned out, and then we can go ahead and refill with the blue one. So like this radiator pack, we need to get all this coolant out and refill it with the blue one. I'm not 100% sure how true that is, if mixing blue and pink coolant creates a sludge, but I was told if you do mix the two, a sludge is created, which then inevitably blocks the whole cooling system. So if you know if that's true, let me know in the comments below. But what we're doing is just flushing the system with clean water, and we can go ahead and replace it with the blue coolant. So that is water ran through the system. It wouldn't have got all the coolant out, but we've got the majority out. All the water's flowing clear, so we should be good, hopefully for the last time, to get this rad pack on. Okay, that's our rad pack back on. Let's throw the intercooler on, fill it up with coolant. I'm gonna risk it again. I'm just gonna go straight in with coolant because I can't see there being a leak this time. So let's get the intercooler on and fill the coolant tank back up. While I was at Honda getting that lower hose, I noticed our intercooler, we've got this lower bush here, and the little peg at the bottom of the intercooler just sits on top of that. And on this side, we didn't have that bush. So a couple of pounds, I think £2 or £3, we've got a new bush, and that should just sit right in there. And now the intercooler will be nice and secure. We've got the bushes at the top and the bushes at the bottom. Right, so to release the air again, we're just going to keep the car running with the cap open, and hopefully we don't get an airlock. I don't know whether to laugh or cry because this car is refusing to start. Maybe it's the immobilizer? The most confusing thing about all of this is yesterday this car was running beautifully starting on the button, but today all I've done is replace that lower radiator hose and the car's just refusing to start. Thought maybe my little battery booster's a bit too weak, so I decided to put on a bigger booster. What is going on there? So what I've done is hooked up a bigger booster. We were using the little booster, which started it fine last time, and it seems to crank okay as well. But let's try a bigger booster. Okay, let's try that again. Now that is so... It just died. With the bigger battery booster, the car fired up and immediately died. So I'm thinking we're on the right tracks. Let's just eliminate the boosters completely and replace our battery for a new one. At least it was an easy battery to remove. Right, now the car's under its own power. let's try and start it again. So yeah, we've got power. Baffled, absolutely baffled. It's got half a tank of fuel. Let's try the diagnostics and see if anything comes up on. You will not believe what I've just gone through. So we spent an hour changing that battery, trying all the diagnostics, unplugging and plugging in every single plug that it could be. Check out how simple it was. The handbrake was left off. So when we put the handbrake up, it starts straight away. That is the most confusing thing I've ever seen. But at least now we have a new battery, the car is running. Let's get this coolant bled. Finally, we are making some great progress. So we have the coolant system all bled. Of course, we have no AC gas at the moment. We'll have to get that topped off. But for now, we should be good to get this slam panel and radiator assembly all bolted down securely. So coming over to the old slam panel, these two brackets that hold the top of the radiator need to go onto the new slam panel. We've got this brace that goes under the rad pack, so under the radiators, and that will bolt into place. This was a bit skewered before, but I hammered it straight and hopefully it just does the job. So let's get this rad pack 100% secure and then we can move on to the next big piece of damage. That is the slam panel and radiator pack 100% secure. Every little bracket all come off the old slam panel. Now the next big piece of damage is this passenger wing. And I haven't properly looked at it just because it's so tight to this hedge here. So I think we should move it for its first time under its own power. Move it out of this corner and have a good look at this wing. Let's hope it starts. Starting this car is becoming an issue. So let's give it a go. Oh, first time, nice. Okay, first time moving it under its own power. Oh. Oh, nice. The clutch feels good. And we're rolling. Okay, that should do us. Let's have a look at this passenger wing. Oh, damn. Okay, so the wing is obviously obliterated. I'm just looking up here. This gap doesn't seem too bad, but the wing is pushed back and you can see even the side skirt's been pushed out as well. So I think let's go ahead, unbolt the wing. So one bolt there, one bolt there. I'm guessing there's one up here and maybe two down here where it joins the side skirt. So let's get this unbolted and then have a look if any of the brackets behind are damaged as well. Yeah. Wow, have you ever seen a wing hit that hard? Look at the way it's curved. Incredible. But looking down here, so our side skirt seems fine, so that will go back into place. This plastic trim seems fine also. The brackets look good. Now the one piece of damage I did notice is this bracket here, so where the front of the wing bolts on, is facing downwards. Luckily, not the inner structure is hit, so there's no sort of creases on the inner structure. And that's so great for us because the gap between where the wing actually bolts and the wing itself, so from this apron here to the outside of the wing, which is sitting about here, is such a big distance that it would have taken a massive impact. Like this wheel would have had to have gone all the way in for this inner apron to be hit. So all along here looks absolutely great. This was purely by chance. Usually on a normal car, this apron will be sitting right out. So any sort of decent impact on the wing would have hit the apron, in which case you'd have inner structural damage or quite big structural damage that needs pulling or replacing. But for us, it's just this bracket here needs to come up a little bit. So we'll use a bit of heat and a hammer there. I think that will be best. And then looking down here, this little impact sensor, we'll see if it's worth straightening this bracket out or just buying a new one. We'll see later on. But for now, let's straighten up this bracket and get it ready for the new wing. Right, a bit of a change of a plan. I thought, let me just hold it up because something doesn't look right about this new wing. So if you remember earlier on, we went and picked up this used wing. I had them side by side and I was thinking that looks a different shade of white. So I thought, let me hold it up against the car and you can see the car is like this creamy white. Hopefully it's coming through on the camera, but the car is a creamy white. This is like a much brighter white. You can see a hint of cream in it, but it's definitely not the right color. It's a shame because I bought this one thinking it's the same color as the car. So, bit of a change of a plan. We're gonna have to remove this. It's Christmas Day today, so I can't drop it anywhere today. Maybe I'll give it a go and paint it myself, but this needs to come off. And I think for now, let's just move on to the rest of the damage. So the last piece of damage is this wing on the exterior. So the damaged parts, this wing mirror needs to get replaced. So hopefully it's a nice, easy wing mirror to remove. Let's get this wing mirror off and take it from there. See here, there's quite a bit of loom there. So that loom goes all the way down. So I'm guessing we're gonna have to remove the door card. So let's get this door card off and get this new mirror on. Slot in our new one. Put the door card back on. Lovely. That is the one piece of the car that is actually back together and looking great. So we've got a new wing mirror, nice and easy job. I feel like even that's a bit too white. Looking at the car, either the car needs a good polish to get a bit of that white textured color out, or the car that this has come off, the wing mirror, the wing, is a different color. So I think we'll pop this cap off, give it with the wing, and get it repainted in the correct color. But for now, this car is coming along, although it still looks a mess. We have made some massive progress. Unfortunately, this episode is not going to be one of those one episodes done. I wish it could be, but there's so many little bits and pieces that we have on back order. So it's either I sit and wait for those parts to come in, record fixing it, and then upload the video. But it is Christmas Day today, so I think we'll call it a day there. We've made some massive progress. If you want to follow the build, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.